7,000 employees at one time in one of my businesses, so I've kind of been through a lot of just hard knocks in the field of education. And I'll start for just a minute talking about defining values, and then I'll get back to vision and mission. But after about 20 years in business, I remember a moment at which I was thoroughly frustrated with trying to get people to do what I wanted them to do, and to be able to manage people to end up at the same place about what was important to do. And I remember taking a day and trying to just decide what I cared enough about to fire people if they wouldn't go along with it. And it's hard to put it that way. You're not taping this, are you?
I'm recording.
Okay.
Rodney asked me to record it. He would help me edit it so we could show it to Emily, so Emily could see it.
Okay.
So, but it won't go out.
All right, got it. So I took the time to stop and think about the things that I cared about in an employee. And I defined those values, and at the time I came up with 5. And I would say that that was the turning point in my business career, was the moment in which I defined 5 values that I cared enough about that if I couldn't get people in line with them, I didn't want them on my bus. Throughout my career then, those 5 values ended up being the most useful management tool that I ever had, was having those clear defined values. I had people sign a covenant when they went to work for me around eventually what became 7, started with 5. And the covenant explained, had a little short paragraph to explain exactly what I meant. They were one word, but it explained exactly what I meant. And I used it to recruit, I used it to manage, to correct, to coach, occasionally to dismiss if it took that. And it was the most useful tool that I ever had, was defining values. Later, I decided to define clearly for people what it was that we were trying to become, what our vision was. What are we trying to become here? We're not yet that, but what are we trying to become? So we all were looking at where we're going down the road. And then I defined, okay, well, what is it we do every day? What is our mission here? And so I used those 3 things, vision, mission, values, over and over. Later, I'll come back to what those 5 values were and share them with you, by the way. But later, I did a lot of study on the book Good to Great, and Collins, who wrote that, and actually hired one of his people and got to meet him, and we went through a process with one of my companies that was kind of taking from Good to Great. And one of his concepts was what he called the hedgehog concept, which is defining the one thing that you are passionate about as a group, that you can, in his words, be the best in the world at. I think in my note the other day I said the best in the market at, and which drives your economic engine, which actually drives financial success for your business. What is that one thing? And so that turned out to be extremely helpful for me as well when we figured out what was the one thing that we could be the best at, that we were really passionate about, and that if we were good at it, it would drive our economic engine. And so I'm just going to kind of get everybody thinking about that, share a few of those concepts that we used in business, and then come back to how and if any of those fit with what we're doing, and then start us on a process of looking at where it is we're trying to take the school, the academy, what it looks like when we're there, to try to get a similar picture of what does it look like, make sure we're all on the same page about that. And then we'll try to find a way to define that where people will understand it. Staff members, potential clients, students, clients being parents in my mind in this case, but students, and our church too, so they understand simply, can we say it succinctly enough that people get a vision, and it's a similar vision that they get by that statement, the vision. But let me back up and give you those values that work so well for us. The 5 that changed my life and changed my career. The first one was teamwork. I wanted people who would work together as a team, that didn't have big egos. This stuff is, I'm sorry if it sounds mundane and trite because you've heard it so much, but I'm telling you, these things for me really worked. The second one was hustle. By the way, we had a byline for each one. Teamwork was no big egos allowed. Hustle was just do it now. Results was the third one, which was if you agree to do something, either deliver the results or put your hand up for help.
What was the phone?
Results,
Results.
right, so do your job or put your hand up for help. That was that. The next one was integrity, which we defined as if we say it or write it, we believe it to be true. We could be wrong, but at least we believe it to be true. That's how we defined it. We don't have to tell everything you know all the time. It's just if you write or say it, you better believe it to be true. And then the last one for us was professionalism. Look sharp, be sharp, speak well, represent the company well. Later, we added a service attitude, and then we finally added fun as our seventh value. If someone came into a room and made it brighter by leaving, then we probably didn't want them on the team. We said life's too short to be miserable at work. And so we literally hired and graded people and did reviews based on those values, how well they fit those values, and it changed our business and helped us go from good to great. By the way, our hedgehog at my last business, our one big thing was convenience. So we were in the rental business. We were in 1,200 locations around the U.S. and Canada. You could walk in and pick it up at any Home Depot. It's ready for you on a trailer. We'd bring it to you. You could go online. You could take our app. You could call us. We'd bring it to you, pick it up. And so we organized ourselves day in and day out around convenience. So how do we deliver convenience for our customers? And the company's grown at a 20% annual growth rate for 10 straight years, which is almost unheard of in business. And it's true, it had happened because we were so focused on that hedgehog. We were passionate about it. It was just so convenient for people. It's never hard to give us their money, right? Make it easy for them to give us their money. So, we defined our vision at Compact Power as to be respected worldwide as a leader in the industry in the business of servicing and renting equipment. So that defined how we acted and how we behaved ourselves in order to be respected worldwide. That meant that we had to be known worldwide, had to be big enough to be known worldwide, we had to be good enough to be respected. So it was a simple statement, but boy, did it drive a lot of behavior. Okay, so that's sort of where we're going with all this, if it makes sense to you. And it's a process, you just can't flesh it out in an hour.
Right.
But I think we could start with just talking around the table about what this looks like. What do we think this looks like when it's done? When we get it where we want it, can we describe it? Does that question make sense to all of you? And is anybody willing to start with that? I'll make some notes on the board if it seems to help at some point. From a vision viewpoint, what does this look like when we're done?
Give people opportunity to just talk before I start. Right?
I mean, is it, I think we should define it, by the way, in terms of range of grades, a range of, is it birth to fifth grade, is it birth to through junior high, is it birth through high school? By the way, some of this, we need to see how we feel about it. It's unfortunate that Bobby and or Joyce aren't with us here. They need to be a part of it, and we'll need to be, and at some point, it's better to be something our church would embrace too, and our elders would embrace. So, but this is a good place to start with that.
Who are we?
What are we trying to build here?
I think it's important to have a culture in the school that is very positive. I'll just start with that because that's what people feel when they walk into a building. The whole school culture.
And I think the culture really needs to mirror the church. I know we're talking about two separate entities, but when I walked in, and I'm talking personal experience, when I walked into this church, there was a different feeling in this church than any other church that I've been in my life. And I've said this many times around all of you, that I felt like that vibe changed my life, in that where I am today through the church is different than where I was the day I walked in, and really, it's that culture. So when the way you feel when you walk into the church is the way that parents should feel when they walk into the school, the way the students should feel when they walk in. And I think Grace positivity.
Who we are then, who are we?
I'll just tell you how much that means to hear you say that, because 10 years ago, we said, what's our vision? We said it's to create an environment of grace where people are brought into a life-changing relationship with Jesus.
Right.
An environment of grace. And what you said is you felt
That's right.
actually, I might cry. But that's how this stuff actually works. It does work.
So the byproduct of grace, what does grace look like? That's why we changed the name, because that's a lifestyle, we are Grace Life Church, who are we? What does that look like? How's that gonna look in the school? What are the characteristics of showing grace, what is that? I think that's what we wanna get to, the essence of, because we wanna reflect that in the school.
So I think the characteristics of what you see when you walk into church, whether it's the pastor, whether it's the elders, whether
Okay.
it's the
So what do you see? Is it warmth, is it
Warmth,
caring?
diversity.
Is it diversity?
Diversity, I mean, it's all of it, and
I'm gonna give you one thought here. My former assistant, and is now HR director for one of my companies, has 2 kids here. And her first son, she has 3 boys. And the first one would still be here, except he outgrew it. And she moved into kindergarten at Walden Grove Christian, and now he's in 1st grade at Walden Grove Christian. And she's working, so her kids can go to Christian education. But she told me at one point, 2 years ago, 3 years ago maybe, that Colin would come home at night and quote Bible verses to them. They're Catholic, by the way. And she said, I'm pretty sure he knows more Bible than either my husband or I does. In fact, he's teaching us. That was one thing. Then when she was looking for, she was having the second child, I think, and I wasn't sure she'd get him in here. She looked at some other places. And she went to another school, preschool, and there was a situation where one little boy didn't have a coat, and he had forgotten to bring his coat or something. The teacher said, well, I guess that'll teach you not to forget your coat or something. And she said, they would never do that to my boy at Grace Life because they love my boys at Grace Life. She said, I know that no matter what, they love my boys. It's not,
Caring.
this is Allison talking about. So that, yeah, that they love my boys. And so, you know, I think there's an overt love that, I don't know if that's a fair description of it, but it's.
I've heard a number of parents say something along the lines about bringing their children here. It's so comforting to know that everybody here loves my child as much as I do. A number of them have said that same. There was a little boy that came in a couple of weeks ago, and Elizabeth was talking to me at the front door. And the little boy come in and jumped into Elizabeth's arms. And I looked at the parent, I said, that's gotta feel pretty good. She goes, that's why I have 3 children here.
So we encourage you,
So I mean, loving children as much as the parents do. I mean, it's that, well, it is overt love, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like they're with family.
yeah, I mean, my son and daughter both are as tight with Joyce as they are their grandparents.
Exactly, both too.
And so, and that's just a relationship that,
JoJo.
and by the way, they're not playing favorites, they're treating kids that way.
Everybody feels
And
that
so-
way, yeah.
But I think that goes down to having a staff, and that falls into our hiring practices, we have to have a staff.
What about,
That believes.
create the.
And also it's
the
consistent.
The
You have
environment
to be
of
able to
Christian, I don't know if we call it
keep
Christian
people,
love or
for people to
Christian
feel like it's family.
values or
That we
Christian.
wouldn't leave over here.
Because that's what we do. That's our foundation, and we encourage it. Keep on learning all the Bible verses, and that's something that we incorporate part of who we are. So that's gotta be a part of our identity, somewhere in there, to me.
But most of you guys know as parents that there have been schools and places you've gone into that you're like, not no, but heck no. And then you've gone in other places, you're like, okay, you get a calm feeling
environment, and you create a caring, loving environment,
And you know that within
Child-centered,
minutes.
child-centered.
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 It's about what's best for the kid, not what's easiest.
By the way, that was a shout out to Rodney right there.
Yes.
Not just that.
Yeah. But I also think if we're thinking about like who we are educationally too, in the same vein, you've gone in, especially as educators, you've gone into schools and you've looked around and thought like, these kids will not be successful in the real world. When they get out of here, they're not gonna know how to function. So I think it also needs, not only does it need to feel like a family, but they also need to feel like,
They've
like-
got guidance and direction.
like transferable skills. They're not so like almost coddled that they can't function outside of our environment, you know what I'm saying?
So I would say independent thinkers. Like,
Exactly.
And critical thinking and getting to those higher level
Mhm.
thinking skills, where kids can tell you the difference. Like earlier, we gave the example of, creation versus evolution. Like kids should be able to give their point of view.
Mhm.
Right. So it's it's critical thinking skills, but there's also sort of building an independence.
Yes.
Mhm.
And,
Developing
right.
critical thinkers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I like that.
Student-led learning.
You know,
Buzzwords.
What is it?
I know we're gonna do this, but you're saying child-centered, I think you gotta be family-centered as well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not educated, I'm just saying, cause the parent is crucial. And I don't know,
Partnering with parents.
Yes.
Or parent
Yeah.
partnerships.
yes, okay.
And I will say, I do think our preschool at this point does have that, is very strong in that. I know that I go to church here, so that may be a little bit different than some of the families that have their children, in GLA currently, but I feel, I don't see a lot of disgruntlement through the halls when I'm here, when I'm picking up kids or dropping off kids, and so I feel like there's a positivity in the building, and I think Roger talked about that as one of the defining values, and I know that came as number 7 there at the end as an add-on, but I think you want to, and I've been on staff the past 3 schools that I've been in, and thank goodness the principal felt this way. It's probably my best attribute, is that we're talking about serious stuff, taking on the responsibility of educating kids, but you gotta have fun, and you gotta be positive, because if you're not having fun, and people are stressed out, and your leadership takes on that characteristic, then it trickles down to everybody in the building. So this needs to be a place where, yes, we're taking it seriously, and yes, our children are behaving the proper way, but at the same time, we're having fun. That it's somewhere you wanna be. When I come to church here, it's a positive. It's not a, oh my goodness, we gotta go, and this is gonna be something, and I'm gonna get upset, and it's gonna be a negative. No, which I've felt in other places, but here, it is a positive, and there's just a good feel to it. And the school should resemble that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
There's another thing they put up here, but it matters. It's something about our facility, the cleanliness and the brightness and how it feels, and, just investing in that. It's
Yeah.
I don't know, it's
Absolutely.
inspiring facility maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
Branding,
and like
right,
branding
yeah.
everywhere, like
Yeah.
having school colors and wearing school colors and like being, yeah,
Yeah.
like having
That
school
goes along.
spirit.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that's very important, because I have worked in brand new buildings, which are so filthy because they don't do a good job cleaning, and parents come in and they do this, and
Oh,
they,
yeah.
and,
And by the way, we're gonna deal with that, so that's gonna be something that we're gonna have to focus on too, whereas you said July, let's say July has a little bit of a delay, and then we come in and we're gonna, so that is gonna be something, but, we have a lot of people that are willing to jump in and help and do all those things, but no, that's something going into next year that's gonna be important, yeah.
The schedule we just got yesterday still has the building finishing at the end of May, or in the month of May, so.
oh, we're behind a little bit, right? With
That will
rain,
actually,
no?
that takes into account.
Oh,
July.
okay.
Cool.
Right.
Good. And jumping in.
I doubt if that's the last one we're gonna see, but right now.
Not to get bogged down on that one as far as school spirit, but we talked about mascot name, have we?
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, it's also a revenue boost if you get parents buying t-shirts. and-
Oh, I'm telling you right now,
We're
you
gonna
get
talk
some,
about that.
you get some Grace Life polos going, and you slap a Nike on it, you can count me down for a couple.
Beth and I have talked about this for the church, but there was an old Dr. Pepper, marketing program back in the seventies and eighties. I'm a Pepper, I'm a Pepper. And so she has them on our Grace Life website in our store now. I'm a Grace Lifer. So if we do something along the lines of that, I'm a Grace Lifer. And that's a, and that is, it
But
does
that's
speak.
not the mascot, but you.
That's not mascot, but it's, it has through the spirit,
Yeah.
and the colors,
Yep.
with the logo and
Yeah,
stuff.
and
it
it's
has
free
to-
marketing,
It has to do
people
with
wear
the
it,
positive
that's
culture
question.
of, I'm a Grace Lifer, and that speaks to the culture that we're trying to create here, both at the church and the school, so that's something to think about. But
We have give hopers.
Give hopers.
Yeah, that's, the people that are all in are give hopers.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's something, it's internal, but it also could be external too.
Can we also talk about having things online where we could have apparel and different things where people could go online?
The store,
and order
yeah.
that?
Yeah, the store, yeah.
So that
Yeah,
would-
and we don't have, the cool thing about that is you have a second vendor that does that, and simply, we have the store set up, we don't have to keep an inventory of it, we get a portion of it, that makes it easy.
So would we agree maybe that for the moment, we should limit our vision to birth through fifth grade?
I think so.
Sort of the mandate
I
we
think
have.
so,
that's
I think when you're looking at a 10 to
Yeah.
15 year plan, we might get a little, you know, if we're doing what we wanna do, I think it expands past that, but I think the focus probably needs to stay K through 5, because that's gonna be our marketplace for a good bit, I think.
Yeah.
That is elementary, when we
Yep.
say we're Grace Life
Yeah.
Elementary, you're talking middle school when you get beyond.
Yeah, and realistically, that's a whole different, I mean,
That's
you
a
get into
whole
And you
athletics.
talk, I think too, when we get to that
That's
point, we're talking
middle school and
facility, where
elementary together, correct?
we could
Right.
be,
You said
yeah.
right through kindergarten.
So,
Grade.
are we also on the same page, we're calling all of it Grace Life Academy? Preschool through fifth grade is Grace Life Academy. That's,
And then
So
Grace
it's-
Life
that's
and we,
what
Elementary.
and we have a
That's
preschool
good.
and an elementary, we have a
Yeah.
preschool
Yep.
Preschool
staff
principal,
and an elementary, right?
elementary principal, if we get to middle school down the road, that'd be a middle school principal, it's kind of, it's different.
Separate entities, same.
And I don't think it's
Yeah.
confusing to say Grace Life Academy Elementary when we're
Right.
putting
Yeah.
stuff out, you know what I mean? Whether it's stuff to parents and memos and things like that, to put elementary and to put preschool on the other side. I think it's important to, sell that name as a preschool as opposed to the umbrella of the old daycare mentality. I think it's important because
Preschool.
what's happening over there, and my children have both been in it, that's a preschool. That's not just, we're picking our nose and rolling in the floor.
Yeah,
They're
it's
learning stuff.
surviving for 8 hours until
They're
I
learning
finish the
stuff.
bathroom.
But you know,
Right.
my son is, I don't know who's teaching him math, but they're crushing it, cause it's not me, they're absolutely crushing it. So those are the things there's real things happening, so. And we have people in that you talk about, I mean, I'm not telling you to film me, but we can do testimonials of, you know, my child went here, these are the things that I've seen, and
We
so.
did discuss
We are doing
that.
those. We are, actually, Bobby's got like 3 or 4 already, testimonials from preschool parents and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I just forgot to respond to that email, that was a real weird. But I'm in.
I wasn't mentioning any names.
I got the email, I just didn't respond, but I'm in, I meant to respond.
But, so, I'm trying to wrap my head around this one thing, so help me a minute. So I came at this, and I still think I'm there, which is that we should have vision, mission, values for Grace Life Academy, which is birth through fifth grade,
Mhm.
not something different for Grace Life Preschool or Grace Life Elementary,
Agree.
right?
Yeah, they should be
So
unified.
then Grace Life Academy already have it, isn't that on the website, or they already have it? Vision, and mission, and.
They do.
What's it say?
Spiritually shaping kids is the mission statement.
Well, that's the tagline, I guess.
Well, I mean, that is the
That
mission.
is the mission, I
Yeah,
think, right?
spiritually shaping kids.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I don't think they go any further to do vision and values and stuff like that.
Okay.
All of this is talking about, and this is a school, and this is talking about the culture of the whole school as far as education is concerned, so I think our vision should have something, creating a culture of excellence in education, and it's all these things, through these kinds of things that you create that culture.
Should get that down, and I'll read this.
I'm just try to get points that we wanna, somewhere between vision, mission, values, a lot of the stuff will end up capturing it. Yeah.
So they have mission and vision. So our mission, spiritually shaping kids, and then it says sharing biblical truth with children that will impact their lives for eternity. Our vision, instructing and modeling the character of Christ in all aspects of educational development.
That vision statement doesn't capture what I would typically wanna capture.
I would agree with that.
But we can change
And
that.
they do have,
Yeah,
they do
absolutely.
have core values too in here.
Do they? What are-
Faith, everything we do is centered on the truths of Jesus Christ. Excellence. We put forth our best in everything we do. Integrity. We desire to present ourselves in a way that glorifies God. And environment, which is probably sounds wrong, but I like the way, it's a safe environment. We provide a safe and nurturing environment for learning and growing.
I think safety is big when it comes to
Yeah,
this age
absolutely.
group, and it's a good thing to have that on there.
So they have 4. But you're, I think I mentioned this to Nizzy and maybe even Steve too, your comment about the preschool plus the elementary, all under Grace Life Academy, with spiritually shaping kids, I kind of like that as overarching, but then you branch depending on if you go to preschool or elementary. Because one's a bigger education focus to me, and one's the love and nurture and the safety for this side, for the preschool, because it's, while I have to work, love my child,
Yeah.
but then here's teach my child. It's kind of like a little bit of a, to me, in my mind, the parents want something else. They want something different for each of those models.
I think,
I-
I think
They're
they
teaching them to.
Yeah,
Well, I know, but
I
here's the
agree.
point.
I agree.
I think it's just a priority shift.
Yes.
Yeah.
It goes
It's
from.
both. It's
Right,
both.
it's exactly-
You want both.
So in preschool, education might be the third thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to elementary, it becomes the first thing.
Right.
It's just,
Yeah.
all 3 of those things are important.
I'm gonna be honest with you, and I don't disagree with any of that. I just think that as this thing goes, and as Nizzy working with Bobby and Joyce, I think you're gonna see a trickle down of the quality of what I'm talking about with those 4-year-olds and with those, and it's gonna trickle down where I think we're gonna refine, and I think with all that, we may get more quality down there teaching as well too. So
Oh, I
again,
agree.
those are my hopes and dream kind of thing, but I do think we will see that even get stronger, which I already think is strong. I don't disagree with that at all. I just don't want to sell short the fact that they're learning stuff down in
Oh, yeah,
preschool too.
no, I.
And it's
Yeah.
intentional.
My kids came
It's not
through too.
accidental, it's intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we market, I know we didn't touch this, but we discussed it, we do offer a before and after school program. So that is another thing we wanna make sure we put in that market piece, just throwing that out there as we talk about. We're not just dealing with our children when it comes to kindergarten or birth through 5th grade, we're also dealing with kids who attend Pineville, who come to us probably at the end of the day,
Wow.
4 or
or
5
they come to
schools.
us in the morning, 5 schools.
Yes, we kind of stumble on that.
Yeah.
Is that the after-school is a separate marketing entity. It's almost like it's a different business,
Yeah.
because we're attracting people from lots of other places for our after-school
Uh-huh.
program. So we have to market it differently.
So when
So
we
on the
tell-
website, we're gonna have a separate spot.
Yeah.
We're gonna, the after-school program would be in every part, but it'll also have a separate one on the website. Because parents that are looking for after-school, if you only put it in the elementary side, and we had talked about that, then parents will say, the only people that could go to this after-school program have to be part of that elementary.
Yeah.
But if you make it a separate
Has to
entry,
be.
then everybody realizes that. And it's a very profitable.
And I think if we market that right, we can get a lot of kids to come here for before and after school too.
Which
We
are,
just
which are
talked-
prospects, future for the elementary
Yeah.
school.
Yes.
Once they see the culture, once they're a part
Oh,
of it.
100%.
And we're just in a good location for after school. I mean, we've got so many schools
Mhm.
in proximity.
And you've got people who are working in this area, and that can have an impact on, they may come here for the after-school because mom works or dad works near here, but then they see the school and what it is versus what they're having in public, and they're like, whoa, I wanna go there.
Well, the
Yeah.
elementary schools do have after-school programs. and-
No, I mean, we have one, but you better believe, we have our own, but you better believe that Grace Life bus is pulling through there every day. They are. Calling it on the walkie every day. Grace Life Academy coming to the front.
That's good.
We do have openings
So,
in
we've talked about, like, marketing and branding from like a parent and student side, but I also think we need to talk about like recruitment and retention and like what our values for our educators look like too. Like, I think, if we're looking for quality teachers, we want an environment that's collaborative and that, gives them some autonomy and, treats them like professionals and that sort of thing. So I do think that's like important to talk about when we're talking about culture also.
Does that go in the core value piece? That's what we had at my old job, was collaboration,
Right.
Interesting, it's also,
That was a core value, collaboration.
collaboration.
And that falls under like what you said earlier with the PLC, professional learning community, and many of ours, even if they're coming fresh out of college, they're gonna be
Yeah.
versed in that PLC.
Yeah, I was just trying to tie the two conversations
Yes.
together.
Yes,
and,
no,
like,
I agree,
Yeah.
I agree. Listen, the biggest hire that we have to make is sitting over there.
Yep.
And so the next most pressure spots are those teachers, I mean, it really is, because when you're talking about recruiting families, you're not gonna keep them if they're not at Izzy's quality when they go in the classroom.
Yeah, well,
And what
and,
you're gonna be as principal, they need to be that strong as a teacher.
yeah, and like, a lot of this doesn't happen if we have a lot of turnover, like, you can't feel like a family if your family's leaving every year. You can't, you know, like, so all of that ties into,
Oh, and that first class that comes in, that word of mouth is either it's gonna drive it, or it's gonna give us heartburn. I mean, it just is.
Yeah, we also talked about with the teachers themselves, is to look at some career pathing opportunities, different structures for the teachers,
Mhm.
whether it be preschool or elementary, and then a career pathing, and then contracts more for the elementary.
yeah.
I think a lot of teachers, that I have spoken to, they like professional learning within the school, they like to go outside and learn, you know, when we can empower them.
Yes.
sorry.
Let's get the theme a little bit.
Yeah.
It's really getting on my face. They're hearing that, they're not seeing
I'm a
that.
bad producer.
Just turn it a little more, turn it towards the corner there, you go.
Yeah, the one, yeah, it's funny.
You know,
I know,
shine
right?
the light here.
Sorry, tell me if I got it right.
There you go, that's good.
All right, in our 15-year vision, it's interesting, one of our credos is home investment, and in home investment, we talk about how we take care of the employees, and we're looking to develop them, and how we make decisions and stuff. So it is consistent with what we've talked about as our 15-year vision. That's kind of cool, is that we're right there. Well, there's one word that's missing, or one part that's missing, as I've seen this, especially to our 15-year vision, is the most important thing we talk about. The Bible is our foundation of everything that we do. So some part about a biblical worldview, a biblical
Correct.
mindset, it's got to be part of the excellence in education from a biblical point of view or a biblical mindset. That has to be a core to what we're teaching. Because, you know, the one thing that we talked about in our meeting of 3 is the word Christian education has got a bad stereotype. So even in the Bible, the word Christian is not thought of as being positive, not me. The only time the word Christian is used in the New Testament is when can't remember where Luke was, but they were making fun of them, little Christians. It was a slam. So a biblical, using the Bible as our foundation as to how we teach, I think is core.
That's key, yeah.
And Roger even talked about it too, with the example of a family that may be Catholic. Going to Liberty, that's where I did my doctorate at Liberty University, and I was amazed. I expected it to be hardcore Baptist, and there's no hiding that is what the core beliefs are. But there were students from all different backgrounds. It was diverse, and they were welcoming. Yeah, we were gonna pray at the beginning of class, but they didn't shut the door on anybody. It was open to, you know who we are, but we bring in everybody, and we're gonna teach it this way, but we're open. And I think that like what Steve said, you talk about biblical worldview. We're not hiding what we're doing, but we're also not shutting you down either, because who's to say that we expose our students to our beliefs, and then we're disciples making disciples. So.
What's the hardcore definition of the word academy, by the way? Anybody give it to me? Want to hear from Siri? Hey Siri, what's the definition of the word academy?
scientists that aims to promote and maintain standards in its particular field.
I
I
like that one
Yeah, I
a
like
lot.
that one. Just making sure we have it rightly named, this is academy, I think we do, but.
Can we just call her the institution of distinguished scholars? Start with 5-year-olds. Potential distinguished scholars.
So, let's see if we can start to get our hands around a description of it a little bit here, so. If we're looking at what we have here, some of those words that we have